Alright guys, so let's start with the pupil. So first and foremost is your Marcus Gunn pupil. The other name of Marcus Gunn pupil is RAPD, which is relative afferent pupillary defect. Now to complete the pupillary light reflex arc, you are already aware that light is shown in one eye, from which it goes to a retina, from which it enters into optic nerve, then optic chiasma, then optic tract, then pretectal nucleus of midbrain, from where there are internuncial fibers which supplies the Edinger-Westphal nucleus, which is the third cranial nerve nucleus, from which oculomotor nerve arises and it stimulates sphincter pupillae, and hence there is bilateral constriction of the pupil. Now what if the right optic nerve is involved? You will put light in front of the right eye, and because the optic nerve is involved, it is not able to carry the light impulse to the ipsilateral and contralateral parts of your optic nerve tract. Yes, as a result of which there is no stimulation of the pretectal nucleus of midbrain. As a result, both pupils will remain dilated. Have you understood that? Okay, let's take another example. Now you have shifted the light from the right side to the left side, whose optic nerve is normal. Yes, now you shine the light, the optic nerve carries the impulse, and this impulse is carried to the pretectal nucleus of midbrain and also to the opposite optic tract via crossing of the fibers, and there is bilateral constriction of the pupil because there is bilateral stimulation of Edinger-Westphal nucleus, because this Edinger-Westphal nucleus gives rise to third cranial nerve, which is oculomotor nerve, which is parasympathetic nerve, which causes constriction of the pupil. Yes, okay. Now you want to know whether there is the involvement of third cranial nerve or there is involvement of optic nerve. So one is you shine the light in one eye. If there is bilateral non-constriction of the pupil, that actually tells me that impulse is not reaching to the pretectal nucleus. So that means right optic nerve is involved. What if there is involvement of the right oculomotor nerve? If you will shine the light in right eye, if there is involvement of right oculomotor nerve but optic nerve is all right, so there will be constriction of the contralateral pupil but not the ipsilateral pupil, because ultimately the light impulse reach the pretectal nucleus, from which internuncial fibers of the same side, internuncial fibers of the opposite side, but because of the involvement of the oculomotor nerve of the right side, so there was non-constriction of the right pupil, but there was constriction of the left pupil because left oculomotor nerve is all right. Okay, now you shift the light from right side to the left side. Now if there is involvement of right oculomotor nerve, first and foremost you will shine the light impulse will travel to the pretectal nucleus, and from Edinger-Westphal nucleus the impulse will be there, but the left pupil will constrict but the right will not constrict because right oculomotor nerve is involved. Okay, but if there is involvement of right optic nerve, you shine the light to the left eye, so there will be bilateral constriction of the pupil because the circuit is completed and there will be stimulation of both the oculomotor nerves, which will result in the constriction of both the pupils. Now what you do if there is involvement of right optic nerve only? Both pupil dilated, both pupil constricted, both pupil dilated, both pupil constricted, both pupil dilated, both pupil constricted. So this is your swinging flash light test, and this is what you call as relative afferent pupillary defect. Now check this out. So you can appreciate both pupil are dilated. You shine the light to the right eye, so it is constricted, it is also constricted, but when you will transfer the light to the other eye, which is left eye, you see both pupil are dilated. So it tells me that, boys and girls, this is a case of left RAPD. But as you always say, my idea is to give you a feeling of sitting with me in my OPD. So let's move to the OPD and you are going to tell me which side lesion is there. So I am going to show you our dear patient of RAPD. Check this out. So I am shining the light to the right eye, constricted, but when I shift the light from the right eye to the left eye, both pupil are getting dilated. Can you tell me which eyes, which nerve is involved? Is it optic nerve, is it oculomotor nerve, or is it of the right side, is it of the left side? Check this out again. Okay, all right. Okay. All right. So boys and girls, this is due to involvement of left optic nerve. So left optic nerve is involved in the patient which I just showed you. I hope your Marcus Gunn pupil is clear. All right. Now coming over to Argyl Robertson pupil. Now Argyl Robertson pupil is when the pupil is bilaterally constricted and the disease which is responsible is neurosyphilis. It is most commonly seen in neurosyphilis, and accommodation reflex is present but light reflex is absent. So how will you remember Argyl Robertson pupil? ARP, you just inverse is PRA, pupillary light reflex is absent. Yes, but of course accommodation reflex is present. Now there are two things. One is, you will ask me, okay sir, please tell me why there is bilateral constricted pupil first, and second you will ask me, sir, why there is accommodation reflex which is present but why there is light reflex which is absent. So please understand, so there is Edinger-Westphal nucleus. Yes, the dorsal part of Edinger-Westphal nucleus is helpful in light reflex, pupillary light reflex. The ventral part is accommodation reflex. So in this condition, the dorsal part of Edinger-Westphal nucleus is involved. Got the answer of your one doubt? That is why there is accommodation reflex which is present, light reflex is absent. Now you will say, okay sir, got it, but why the pupil are bilaterally constricted? Now please understand, there are supranuclear adrenergic fibers, yes, which have the tendency to inhibit the action of Edinger-Westphal nucleus or parasympathetic system. Parasympathetic system causes constriction of the pupil, while sympathetic system causes dilatation of the pupil. Now in neurosyphilis or in Argyl Robertson pupil, the pathology lies even in supranuclear adrenergic system, which has the function to inhibit the parasympathetic action, and this system, this pathway gets damaged. So it is no more able to inhibit the parasympathetic system, but you know the parasympathetic system causes constriction of the pupil. That is why there is bilateral constricted pupil which has got light reflex absent, accommodation reflex present, and the defect lies in pretectal nucleus of midbrain. Pretectal nucleus of midbrain, and this is also called as prostitute pupil because it accommodates but does not react. All right, so this is about your Argyl Robertson pupil.